Thank you very much, Claire, and thanks for all the people participating in this round. Here I start with the summary for the surface chemistry analysis and using the decision tree approach. Next slide, please. So we are working on that structured decision tree approach. It's a tiered approach to analyze, identify and quantificate the surface chemistry. We're doing that in close cooperation with the NRCWE. So that's our Danish colleague, Kjeld Astrup Jensen and Jakob Børgaard. And in this collaboration, we developed a tiered approach. You see this decision tree, which starts with a screening level. It has a results level where you make a decision. Then you move on to screening level 2, to more specific methods, and that is followed by a quantification method. When you look at the screening level, you see this green box that involves a control. In this case, the bulk material refers to the coating material, not the nanomaterial. It refers to the coating, which was used to treat the surface of the nanomaterial. These screening level tests involve very easy, cost-efficient techniques like pyrolysis GC, GCMS, like FTIR, but also TGA-MS. And you may compare that to your, as I said, bulk material, in this case the coating material, and check if the answers in terms of identification, how they match, and what conclusions you can draw on that. For the next, if you can move on to the next tier. No, not the slide, the tier. Sorry. You can then check what other analytical methodologies should follow, in depending what the correlation with the bulk material, the coating material, gave you. So to complete then the screening, you may move on to more specific, more cost-intensive methods and complete the identification. That could be TEM methods with EDX or XPS, whatever you deem handy and appropriate for the questions you have. So here you have methodologies with higher analytical power. In the last tier, you have the quantification methods, if that is needed, and you might select from the analytical toolbox whatever you think is appropriate for the material at hand. In the discussion from the last couple of days, we expanded that tier, that decision tree approach with another tier, and that is this blue one at the right side, and that is the box for the supplier, because you may have, or the supplier industry may have already information on the material. They may have also quality control information on that, so that could certainly feed into that and may simplify this decision tree and tiered approach. So next slide, please. In our discussion, we asked 3 different questions. What might be the appropriate measurements to when you determine surface chemistry, surface functionalization, and surface coating. So the experts came up with the nature of the coating should be described, the molecular weight, and the functional groups of the coating, as well as the elements present in the coating. That should be really essential. What they deemed to be preferable but not non-essential was the amount and thickness of the coating, maybe the binding type, but they also realized that might be really difficult to determine. We also realized there is a need for certified reference materials, or in general reference materials, to improve the measurements. In the past, we had a lot of reference materials due to the OECD sponsorship program and the JSC repository, but this has in some cases changed, and some of this material is not longer available, at least not for every research group. The third question which was asked, do we need a clarification of essential terms? And there was a big yes, and there was also the conclusion that we need a definition for what we mean with the term surface, especially what is meant by surface chemistry, surface functionalization, and even the most important subgroup, the surface coating, because that can be divided in even more subgroups, and we have to try to specify these terms. The other need for definition, which was identified, was we should identify the term bulk material, because in this case, bulk material means the chemicals which are used for the coating, and that is quite different from in other contexts, because then the bulk material means the non-nano material, the classical chemical substances. So next slide, please. So we announced round robin testing for surface chemistry. So these are the planned timelines. We announced them for two materials, the titanium dioxide coated with aluminium oxide and silver PVP. So that's in the first case the NM103, and then the other the NRCWE009 material. That is a start, and other materials will follow. We decided to stagger that because it's simply for practical reason, otherwise it would overwhelm our small group. So the timeline would be in March 21, an SOP distribution and time for clarification. Then in April 21, distribution of test material if needed. Some groups have already these materials. In May 21, we expect the start of the testing, and in October 21, we expect the complete of the first round of test materials. So then there will be others to come, and they may have come in staggered approach. So next slide, please. The other part we discussed and introduced, we will write a consensus paper, which will be the base for the guidance document, which will provide some guidance on what the limitations and the criteria of the analytical approaches will be. And here we will introduce, this review paper will be divided in 5 chapters. The first will give an introduction and the regulatory need, why we do this and why we are interested in the determination of the surface chemistry. Then we will, as I said, in the second chapter, aim for these definitions of these new terms. Then we will give guidance on the analytical techniques, especially on the principles, the limitations, and the pitfalls. That also nicely links into some ISO work, which has been already done on that case. And then we give some examples in form of case studies. And in the last chapter, we give an outlook. Next slide, please. So that's
you might be finished.
Yeah, I'm already finished. The only thing I wanted to say, I would say a big thank you to everybody, also to all the advice given in the round, and also we had some feedback from people who would like to join us either in the round robin testing and or on the consensus writing of the paper, and also some input for the guidance document. So a big thank you to everybody.